We met at a friend's housewarming party. Emily was funny, ambitious, and complained about her job in marketing. I worked in hospitality management. We clicked immediately, sharing stories about bad guests and long hours. She hated the late-night calls from clients. I hated dealing with drunks at the hotel. It was a match. For the first year, things were great. We balanced our schedules and made time for each other. I supported her career. She'd dream about building her own marketing agency. I encouraged her every step of the way. She took a digital marketing course, and I paid for half of it. She never asked. I just wanted to help. At first, everything was perfect. Emily worked from home some mornings while I managed the hotel. We meet for lunch when I had a break. In the evenings, we'd talk about our days, sharing everything. She was always interested in my work, asking about hotel operations and how we handled difficult guests. But slowly, things started changing. I noticed Emily becoming more distant. Her focus shifted from her dreams to money. She started making casual comments about our lifestyle. "I wonder what it's like to never worry about money," she'd say. At first, I brushed it off as harmless, but her tone began to shift. She wanted more, much more. "Imagine living in one of those big houses," she said once, as we passed a wealthy neighborhood. I didn't think much of it, but I noticed the change in her eyes, the way she looked at things. She started comparing us to other people with more money, nicer things. It was subtle at first. A comment about a friend's trip to Napa, a mention of a designer handbag. Her friend Miranda had a boyfriend who worked in finance. He took her places, bought her things. Emily started to drop hints. Why couldn't we afford that? Why didn't I give her those things? I tried to stay positive. I was working hard at the hotel, putting in long hours. But it wasn't enough. Nothing I did seemed to make her happy. "Chad doesn't have to worry about budgets," she would say. "He just buys whatever he wants." I suggested we save up for a nice vacation. Emily rolled her eyes. "It's not the same thing, Liam." I felt the pressure building. I was trying, but it was never enough. I couldn't give her the life she wanted. The comments about money kept coming. The passive-aggressive remarks, the little jabs. It wasn't just about money. It was about what I couldn't provide, the life she thought she deserved. She started saying things like, "We can't afford the nice things. This is all we'll ever have." The worst was when we went out to dinner with friends. Emily looked around, clearly embarrassed by our modest meal. "Is this really all we can do?" she asked, her voice low but sharp. "I thought we were doing better than this." Her attitude began to sour. She didn't want to go to certain events, afraid of being judged by wealthier couples. She became more focused on what others had, the things she didn't have, the things I couldn't give her. I could see it in her eyes. She was looking for something more, something I didn't have. The distance between us grew. I started working longer hours, hoping I could make enough to give her what she wanted. But it never worked. Emily's dissatisfaction only grew. She wanted the kind of life Chad could give her. I started to feel like I was failing. I wasn't good enough. I wasn't rich enough. But I didn't know how to fix it. I didn't know how to be the man she wanted me to be. That's when I started to question everything. Was this who she really was? Was this what she wanted from me? It was becoming clear that our relationship wasn't about love anymore. It was about what I could provide. The tension in our relationship kept growing. Emily's comments about money became more frequent and more pointed. She would sigh dramatically whenever we passed a luxury car or a fancy building. "Must be nice," she'd mutter. I tried to brush it off, but I could feel the weight of her dissatisfaction. It wasn't just her words, it was the tone. Everything about her changed. She began to view everything through the lens of what money could buy. We'd go out to dinner, and she'd compare our modest meal to what other couples were eating. "It's okay for what we can afford," she'd say, but there was always a hint of disappointment in her voice. I could see the judgment in her eyes, the comparison to others. It felt like she was embarrassed by our life. Her friend Miranda, who had been dating Chad for a while, became a constant source of comparison. Miranda would talk about trips to Napa, weekend getaways, and designer gifts. Emily would listen with envy. I tried to keep up, but it was impossible. I was doing my best, but it was never enough. One day, while shopping at a mall, we passed by a high-end store. Emily's eyes lit up when she saw a purse in the window. "That's exactly what I want," she said, but there was no mention of how much it cost. She wanted it, and that was all that mattered. I offered to help save for it, suggesting we could set a budget, but she wasn't interested. "That's not the point," she snapped. Her frustration with me grew. She couldn't understand why I wasn't buying her the things she wanted, and I couldn't make it happen. The more she talked about money, the more I felt like I was failing her. I wanted to give her everything she wanted, but I couldn't. It wasn't just about the purse anymore. It was everything. Every conversation seemed to be about what I couldn't provide. She started to bring up her friends' vacations more often. "Chad took Miranda to Paris. How romantic. What I wouldn't give for that," she said. I tried to keep things in perspective, but it wasn't working. Emily wasn't just disappointed. She was starting to resent me. It wasn't just the money. It was the idea of the life she felt she deserved. A life I couldn't give her. The comments started to sting. "I deserve better than this," she said once, looking at me with a mixture of frustration and pity. The guilt crept in. Why wasn't I enough for her? Why wasn't I ambitious enough? Why wasn't I giving her the life she wanted? I began working longer hours at the hotel. I thought that if I just made more money, I could make her happy again. But it didn't work. The more I tried, the more Emily seemed unhappy. Nothing I did was enough to satisfy her desires. She didn't see my hard work. She only saw what I couldn't give her. The nicer things, the luxury, the lavish lifestyle. One night, we went to dinner with friends, and Emily became visibly uncomfortable. She kept looking around, glancing at the other couples. When one couple mentioned their weekend in the Hamptons, Emily shifted in her seat. "Must be nice," she muttered. I could tell it bothered her. She didn't want to be part of this crowd, not unless she could fit in. She began refusing invitations to events where she thought other couples would be richer than us. It was like she was embarrassed to be with me, embarrassed by what I could offer. She started making excuses for why we couldn't go places. "I don't want to be the odd one out," she'd say. I felt like I was losing her. Slowly, she was slipping away. It wasn't about love anymore. It was about something else. The more I tried to be understanding, the more distant she became. The more I tried to offer solutions, the less interested she was. I was failing. I couldn't give her the life she thought she deserved. I couldn't make her happy. She wanted something I couldn't provide, and I started to realize that nothing I did would ever be enough. The relationship wasn't about me. It was about what I could give her, and I wasn't giving her enough. That realization hit me hard. I had no idea what to do. I felt trapped in a relationship that no longer felt like it was about love. It was all about money, and it wasn't going to change, not unless something drastic happened. I wasn't sure what that would be yet, but I knew one thing for sure. I couldn't keep living like this. The breaking point came when we went to the mall. It was a Saturday afternoon, and Emily wanted to shop for skincare products. I needed a few basic things from the grocery store, so we went together. It wasn't supposed to be a big deal. But it quickly turned into something else. We went to Target, and Emily was already in a bad mood. She kept sighing, looking at her phone, and complaining about how crowded everything was. "This place is so depressing," she muttered. I didn't say anything. I was used to her complaining. But this time, it felt different. She was clearly irritated by being there. She made a snide comment about how people were buying the cheapest versions of everything. "It's so embarrassing," she said, rolling her eyes. I didn't respond. I just grabbed the items I needed and tried to get out of there quickly. When we reached the checkout, she was still upset. She started scrolling through Instagram, showing me pictures of people we knew. "Look at Sarah's vacation photos from Bali," she said, her voice dripping with envy. "Did you see that Jake bought a Tesla?" she added, her tone sharp. Each post seemed to make her more agitated. Everyone else's success felt like a personal affront to her. I could feel my blood pressure rising. I wasn't sure what to say. She was acting like everyone else had it so easy. I just wanted to get through the checkout without another comment. But that wasn't going to happen. When the cashier started scanning my items, Emily snapped. "Are you seriously paying in cash?" she asked loudly. Like some kind of drug dealer. Her voice was raised, and people in line started looking at us. I froze for a second, stunned by her words. "What's wrong with paying in cash?" I asked, trying to stay calm. Emily didn't answer. Instead, she turned red with anger and continued, her voice getting louder. "You're 32 years old and still living paycheck to paycheck, counting out crumpled 20s like you're buying food stamps." I felt my face burn. I was embarrassed. I had never been humiliated like this in public before. The whole checkout area felt like it was watching us. The cashier looked uncomfortable, glancing nervously at us. I tried to stay calm. "Emily, can we talk about this outside?" I said quietly. But she wasn't done. She stepped closer, her voice shrill and theatrical, like she was putting on a show for everyone. "No, Liam, we can't talk outside. This is the problem. You're too poor to keep me happy. I deserve better than this." The words hit me like a slap. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. She was yelling at me in front of strangers. I deserve a man who can take care of me properly, not someone who clips coupons and drives a 10-year-old car. Her voice echoed off the walls. The entire checkout area had gone silent. I wanted to disappear. I stood there stunned, not knowing what to do. The humiliation was overwhelming. I felt small. But I didn't want to make a scene. I didn't want to give her the satisfaction of seeing me lose control. I grabbed my change from the cashier, told her thank you in the calmest voice I could muster, and walked away. Emily followed me for a few steps, still yelling, her voice carrying across the store. "You don't even fight for me, Liam," she screamed. "You just accept being mediocre. You accept being a failure." I didn't turn around. I didn't respond. I just kept walking. I could hear her calling my name as I reached the parking lot. I got in my car, started the engine, and drove off. I didn't look back. But I could see her standing there in the rearview mirror, still yelling. She probably thought I'd come back. I didn't. I was done. This was the moment I realized that our relationship had never been about love. It was about money. And I couldn't be with someone who only loved the idea of me, someone who wanted more than I could give. It wasn't just the public humiliation. It was everything she said. It was the way she saw me as a failure. I felt relieved when I pulled out of the parking lot. I didn't know what would happen next, but I knew it was over. The next morning, I didn't hear from Emily. She was quiet for the first time in days. I didn't feel relief, though. I just felt empty. That night, my phone buzzed. A message from her, "We need to talk." It was a short, simple text, but the weight behind it felt heavy. I had already made up my mind. The things she said at the store echoed in my head. "Too poor to keep me happy." That line cut deep. I didn't respond. I wasn't sure what she would say, but I knew I couldn't go back to that. The next day, another text. "I was upset yesterday. I said things I didn't mean. Please, can we talk?" I still didn't reply. Emily didn't stop. Her texts kept coming. She was clearly desperate for a conversation. "I'm starting to think you're ignoring me on purpose," she wrote. "We've been together for over 2 years." I didn't want to talk. I didn't want to hear her excuses. It wasn't just a bad day. It was who she was. Thursday came and I finally sent a message back. It was simple. "We're done, Emily. What you said at the mall wasn't just something you said in anger. It's what you really think." Her response was immediate. "Are you breaking up with me over text, after everything we've been through?" She tried to make me feel guilty, like I was throwing away everything we had. But I was past that. "Yes," I typed. "I'm breaking up with you because of what you really think about me." Her reply came quickly. "You're really going to throw away everything we built together over one argument?" I could feel the guilt creeping in, but I stood firm. I knew what I had to do. I didn't care anymore about the past or the time we'd spent together. It wasn't real. Not anymore. "You're pathetic," she added in her final message. You'll regret this, Liam. I blocked her number immediately. It was over. But Emily wasn't done. The next few days were filled with messages from different numbers. She tried every way to reach me. She sent long, apologetic texts, explaining how she was frustrated and how it wasn't her fault. She tried to rewrite what had happened. I didn't know about your family's business, she claimed. It didn't matter. Her apology felt hollow. She was only sorry because she had miscalculated. I didn't respond to her calls or texts. I had nothing left to say. The hurt was done. The damage was done. I heard through mutual friends that she was telling people I had misled her about my financial situation. She said I'd kept secrets from her. She was painting herself as the victim, trying to shift the blame. Her story didn't match mine. I didn't owe her an explanation. I knew what had happened. A week later, Emily showed up at my office. The receptionist called me. You have a visitor. It was Emily. She had pushed past the receptionist and was standing in the lobby, waiting for me. I stepped out to meet her, not surprised. I knew she wouldn't let go easily. I've been thinking about us, she said, her voice soft. I know I made a mistake. Can we talk? Her tone was different now. She was trying to play the victim. The apology felt rehearsed. I could see through her. She wasn't sorry for what she said. She was sorry for what she'd lost. What did you think when you saw me on the news? I asked. She hesitated, clearly trying to figure out the answer she thought I wanted to hear. I was proud of you, she said, her voice quieter now. But I was also sad. We should have celebrated together. I nodded slowly. Your first thought wasn't that you were wrong about me. She faltered. Well, yes, but I misjudged the situation. Not that you humiliated me in front of strangers. Not that you called me pathetic. You misjudged the situation. Her face fell. I could see the realization hitting her. She wasn't going to get what she wanted. I'm not sorry for what I did, I said. I'm sorry that it took me this long to see who you really are. She started crying, but I didn't feel sorry. She wasn't the person I thought she was. I'm done, Emily, I said, and I turned away. She didn't follow me this time. She just stood there, her tears the last thing I would ever feel for her. The next few days were quiet. I didn't hear from Emily, but I knew it wasn't over. I wasn't sure how long it would take. I focused on my work, getting deeper into my responsibilities at the hotel. I had bigger things to worry about now. But Emily wasn't giving up. The messages started coming again, first from her regular number, then from others. She was desperate. The texts were long, filled with apologies and explanations. I didn't mean it, she wrote. I was just frustrated, she said. I wasn't myself. Please, let's talk. I didn't reply. I had nothing to say. Every word she typed felt empty, like she was trying to rewrite history. Then came the calls. I let them go to voicemail. I knew what they would say. More apologies, more excuses. One voicemail stood out. Liam, please. I didn't know about your family's business. I thought you were stuck in a dead-end job. It hit me how wrong she was. She didn't know the first thing about my life, and she didn't care to know. She only cared about what I could give her. The money, the status, that's all she saw. Her last voicemail was different. She was angry now. You knew how much I loved you. You can't just throw that away. I let the anger pass through me without responding. She was still blaming me. She wasn't truly sorry. A few days later, I ran into her at the coffee shop. She looked different, more polished, more put together. She was wearing a new dress, something expensive looking. Her makeup was flawless, her hair perfectly styled. She approached me slowly, like she was testing the waters. Liam, can we talk? I didn't want to, but I knew this wasn't over. I stepped aside and let her speak. She started talking about how she had learned from her mistakes, how she was going to therapy. I've realized what really matters, she said, her voice soft. I've been thinking about us, and I know I was wrong. She sounded sincere, but I didn't trust her. It was all too convenient. She only cared now because of what she'd lost. I looked at her, studying her face. And when you saw me on the news, what was your first thought? She hesitated, trying to pick the right answer. I was proud of you, she said, almost too quickly. And you realized you misjudged me? I asked. You misjudged everything, Emily. She looked at me, trying to hold back tears. I was stressed, Liam. I thought you didn't care about your future. No, I said, shaking my head. You didn't care about me. You only cared about what I could do for you. She started crying, but I wasn't moved. I had seen enough. I had heard enough. I took a deep breath. I don't want you to change, Emily. I want you gone. She stood there, shocked. She wasn't used to being told no, not like this. But I had made up my mind. She had shown me who she really was, and it wasn't someone I could love. I turned and walked away, leaving her standing there. I didn't feel guilty. I didn't feel sad. I felt relief. I had finally cut the ties that were holding me back. I knew I was better off without her. She had wanted a life I couldn't give her, and now I had my freedom back. The next few weeks were peaceful. Emily's messages stopped. I had no reason to look back. I heard from mutual friends that she was dating someone new, a guy in finance. Apparently, she had researched him before agreeing to go out with him. It was the same pattern. I didn't care. She could have what she wanted. I had everything I needed now. For the first time in months, I felt like myself again. The weight had been lifted. I didn't need someone who only loved me for what I had. I needed someone who loved me for who I was. And I was ready for that. A month passed, and I was settling into my new role. The hotel business was challenging, but it was fulfilling. I had inherited something bigger than I ever imagined. My grandfather's empire was now mine to manage. I was meeting with property managers, architects, and accountants, learning the ropes of running multiple hotels. The work was demanding, but I felt a sense of purpose I'd never had before. I wasn't just managing, I was building something. I wasn't thinking about Emily. I had finally moved on, but a part of me couldn't fully forget her. One day, I got a message. It was from an unknown number, but I knew who it was. It was Emily. I saw the news. You're the new CEO, Liam. Why didn't you tell me? I didn't reply. I wasn't interested in her excuses anymore. She made her choice. She'd shown me who she really was. The messages came one after another. I can't believe you didn't share this with me, she wrote. We should have celebrated together. I ignored them. Her words meant nothing to me now. She only cared because of what I had. Then came the calls. I let each one go to voicemail. Each message more desperate than the last. She apologized. She said she had misjudged everything. I didn't know what you were really doing, she said. She said she understood now. I was frustrated, but I see that you were always ambitious. It didn't matter. I didn't need her to understand. I needed her to stay away. The next week, I saw her name pop up on my phone. This time, it was different. She was calling from Miranda's phone. I hesitated, but then answered. Liam, Miranda said. Emily's really upset. She wants to apologize. I sighed. It wasn't the first time I'd heard this. I knew Emily's game by now. She's been crying for days, Miranda continued. She really loves you. Don't throw it all away. I didn't respond. I was done. There was nothing to fix. Emily had already shown me who she was. The following weeks were quiet again. Emily's attempts to contact me stopped. She moved on, or so I thought. I heard through mutual friends that she was now dating a finance guy, someone she met at a networking event. It wasn't a surprise. She had always been more interested in security than love. One afternoon, I got a call from my mom. She sounded concerned. Liam, there's a woman at the door. She says she's your girlfriend, but she's upset. Wants to explain. I knew exactly who it was. Emily had come to my parents' house. I left work and rushed over. When I arrived, I could see Emily sitting at the kitchen table, crying. My mom was trying to be polite, but I could tell she was uncomfortable. Dad wasn't having it. When I walked in, my dad raised an eyebrow. He was calm, but his eyes were sharp. What's going on here? He asked. Emily wiped her eyes, trying to make herself look presentable. I just want to explain, she said. I didn't let her finish. I'm the one who needs to explain, I said. She humiliated me in public, told me I wasn't good enough. The room fell silent. My mom's coffee cup froze in midair. Dad didn't say a word at first. Emily tried to backpedal. I was having a bad day, she said. I didn't mean what I said. My dad didn't buy it. You said it, Emily, and that's the problem. He stood up. It's time for you to leave. Emily's face crumpled. You don't understand, she said, but no one in the room was listening. She stood up, wiping her tears. Please, Liam, let's just talk about this. I looked at her one last time. No, we're done. She didn't argue. She turned and walked out, leaving me with my family, who was already on my side. When she was gone, I felt the relief I had been waiting for, the final closure. I didn't need to wonder anymore. I knew I had made the right decision. I was better off without her. And this time, it was for good. Weeks passed, and life began to settle. I focused on my work, running the hotel empire my grandfather had built. I threw myself into the business, learning every aspect of it. It was challenging, but I felt alive. I had no time for distractions. Emily's presence no longer loomed over me. I had freed myself from her grip. My relationships with my family grew stronger. They supported me through everything, especially when I needed it most. Then, one evening, I received a call from an old friend. I heard Emily's dating someone new, he said. I didn't care. I was glad she had moved on. She could have whatever she wanted. I had found peace, finally. The drama, the manipulation, the pain, it was all in the past. I was building something meaningful now, something that had nothing to do with money. What mattered was the work I was doing, the people I was helping, and the life I was creating for myself. I had learned the hard way what truly mattered. I didn't need anyone who only saw me for what I could give. Now I was living for me, and that was enough.